I have enough room over here. Yeah, so we can just... Well, I do sound good today.
Yeah, I was going to say.
As opposed to what? You always sound good.
Oh, I felt like it was sounding a little weird.
I feel like I sound weird. Do I sound weird?
Not more than normal.
Maybe just because of the headphones.
Do you want to introduce yourself?
So I'm Anna. I am the marketing intern here at Royal.
And Anna, how old are you?
I'm 21.
21.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Steve. I'm also 21. And no. You know, I asked you, what is the donut that represents this episode today? What donut were you thinking?
I'm just going to say my favorite donut, which is the chocolate covered donut.
Okay.
With no filling.
So plain, like,
yeah.
Okay. James, do you have a favorite donut?
There's some donuts that I don't really care for, but I'm kind of all over the board. I can get down with whatever I think.
I thought you were going to say that your favorite donut is pink donut with sprinkles because you're repping the outfit today.
I forgot about that. Yeah. No, I didn't forget about it. It's actually nice and warm. It's cozy. It's good for a cold weather day. Like looking at some of Royal's services and products that we offer to our members, looking at it through the perspective of a young adult person, a person who's in their 20s and maybe is going to college or going to tech school, and thinking about how our products can help someone at that stage of life, really.
Do you remember what your first checking account was and what the experience like was around that?
I'm pretty sure it was with my dad. My dad opened it for me, and that was just for like my paychecks and stuff. But did I really know what it was and whatever, like taking money out of it? No. Then I grew up and learned more about it and opened my own accounts without my dad.
Do you remember, were you excited to get that checking account? Was it a checkbook? Was it a debit card?
Honestly, no, because I just feel like I did sort of know how they worked, and like it's something that you have to be in control of and maintain. And I knew that I wasn't really going to be doing that. So it kind of just was worried in the back of my mind, like, oh, like what's going on with my money?
Sure.
You know? So that's why in the beginning it was more like, I don't know, kind of a little bit worrisome to have an account that I don't really manage myself.
Because your parents were managing?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's not that I don't trust them. It's just like, I don't know what's going on, really. And then...
How about the transition between you taking over more of that responsibility? What was that like?
Well, I enjoyed that way more because I was a teller. So when I worked for the bank that I worked for, then I opened my own accounts and I could easily look at them whenever and all that. But I certainly still was like, okay, I don't want to overdraft with my debit card because it takes it out instantly. So I'd always worry about overdrafting or if there's any fees that I don't know about, because there's a lot of fees. I remember asking, like, for sure when I'm opening them, like, okay, what fees, like, just tell me straight up, like, what fees are there that come out like every month that, you know, I'm just not sure about. And she's like, oh, well, the statement fee, like, you get charged $5 every month just to get a paper statement. I'm like, okay, how do I avoid that? And then she's like, okay, I just like do online banking. But it was like almost like I had to really make sure to ask about it in a way, you know, because otherwise, yeah, it's in print and you can read through all the 50 pages they give you when you open an account, but who's actually going to do that? Not me. So just make sure to ask.
Does Royal do we fee for paper statements?
No, there's no monthly fee for paper or electronic statements.
Not to put you on the spot to speak for all 21-year-olds, but do you feel like...
no pressure.
Do you feel like your friends care about fees? Do they think about fees? Do they think about their checking accounts at all?
Well, I know that I've had friends that... There was a situation where my friend was like, he got an NSFE. And
what is an NSFE?
NSFE?
Yeah.
Non-sufficient funds.
Perfect. Thank you.
And I remember when I got one and I was not happy because it was, first of all, like an accident in a way. The transfers, they kind of lagged, I guess. So then it made it look like I didn't have enough, but they still charged me for it. And I was like, oh no, that's not me. I don't get NSFEs. So I made sure to really get on that versus like my friend. He was like, I'll just pay it. I'm like, you're really just going to pay like $30-some because of this one like small mistake you could have avoided? Like, are you serious right now?
Right.
They didn't seem to really care. And that to me was really surprising because it's like, that's like a meal out in like going out somewhere and you just don't really care about it.
Right. Just throw it away.
Yeah. No.
Did you look at different checking accounts when you were opening?
Well, no, honestly, I think if I think back to it, but I do remember thinking that I had to get an account with like a big national financial, like those really well-known ones, because I thought they would have like the best like services or products, because, well, they're the most well-known. They must have the best, you know, accounts or whatever. When really that's not the case. Like there's really good financials that are near you or are also like around a lot and well-known that you can go to that don't charge you crazy amount of stuff, or that are more like community, or like they actually care about you. That's what I would tell myself. Probably just look more around in the area and what I'm looking for exactly, and just not, because I'm very much like also still, I might not go to the office a lot, but I still think it's nice to know that I could potentially still go to the office.
Sure.
In case anything happened. That's a big part, and just make sure to know what you're looking for. And if like you're a young adult like me, you're going to look for something that doesn't have any fees really, or
well, I mean, nobody really wants fees.
Yeah.
I don't want fees.
I actually go looking for fees.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how you keep track of your accounts, your statements. How much, like, over the years have you learned better techniques of how to not get NSF fees?
Yeah, the way I budget all my accounts and all my money really is just, I know what I should expect and what balance I should have by the time I balance my accounts, really. So like I calculate everything. I have like spreadsheets and stuff that easily calculate where I should be, and that's how I can tell, because then I like go ahead and calculate what's coming out for the month, like as far as bills, and I always make sure to have like $1 extra or a cent extra in there so I don't overdraft. And that's really how that goes. So I'm very on top of my accounts and know that there's no way I should be getting any sort of fees for anything.
Do you want to tell us about the virtual envelope system, or do you want to?
The virtual envelope system.
So when you say accounts, like how many accounts do you have? Do you have a separate account for each type of expense?
The thing is that I was very like not sure of opening so many accounts. I don't know why in the back of my head I was like, oh, you're not allowed to have so many accounts, you know?
Sure.
And then I heard someone here, when I first started, someone here has that system too. But they have like a bunch of accounts. So I was like, oh, okay. So I can easily, and I opened them all like through my app, which was really easy also. I have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 accounts.
So, but do you have them broken out into like categories? Like this is my tuition, or this one is...
So I have a trip fund. I have my pet fund for my dog at home that I still send money for. I have one for like college fund, my car maintenance. I have a shopping.
So that is like, that's how you're dividing up your income and expenses every month then? For those?
Every
like
2 weeks, but yeah.
So how do you manually transfer funds into each of the accounts like as you get paid, or do you have it set up automatically or anything?
No, I like to do them manually just because that's when I'm like balancing myself.
Sure, that's
and
part
doing
of your process.
Because I actually don't really have anything automated a lot for like even other bills. I just
like
don't.
Bill pay stuff.
Yeah,
okay.
Like I pay them. I go ahead and pay them myself once I know for sure everything looks good. So
we got into that in the last podcast. Both two financial people here do not like auto pay. I love auto pay. Where do you stand on that?
I ran into a situation where companies are starting to charge for not using auto pay.
Oh, really?
Our garbage takeout service started saying, if you're not going to pay us with auto pay, it's going to cost you like $8 a month or something, right? Something ridiculous.
Wow.
So I've been like, I use it as much as I can, really.
Do we all have to be worried about auto pay and getting more NSFs? Because I mean, some people are just, I'm sure companies like it because they're going to get paid, but people don't do it because of that reason of like, I didn't transfer the money that I wanted to have there. Do you think we all have to worry about that?
I think on the processing side, it's just it can happen automatically versus having a person open an envelope with a paper check in it and then, type that information into a system. Like that takes time and resources versus an electronic auto pay transaction can happen like at the snap of a finger or whatever. So,
but I'm talking like even for some of my bills, I will put in my account information every month instead of hitting auto pay because I don't want to run into the situation where I don't have money in that account that month, so that I'm always, it's like a
control, like a checks and balances type thing for you.
Yeah.
I see. Interesting.
all those accounts are all just like basically savings accounts.
I think, yeah, for the most part, they're mainly savings accounts, but like my shopping one is a checking account. The ones that you like often take money out of are checking accounts, just because the savings ones, when you put obviously saving more money and you keep it there longer, you gain, obviously you have more interest in those accounts. So then it's more convenient to just have those as savings rather than checking, because checkings, they have obviously lower interest on them.
So I'm just trying to like get this system down. So like your check comes in, you separate it into different accounts, but then like I'm going to take a trip. So I'm going to take all that money from that trip account and put it back into my checking account.
No. So basically, it's every 2 weeks. Obviously I get paid, right? So everything, all my bills, everything is split by 2 weeks. I am always a month ahead with my bills, no matter what, because of how they started the system. I'm going to try to go slowly so I don't mix people up.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about this system mainly with people that get paid bi-weekly. I feel like that's the most basic form of payment that people get, but it's really simple to change it to the weekly payment, but we're going to do bi-weekly for now. So basically, to start off, just look at all of your bills, like actual bills, which it could be like, for example, mine is rent, groceries, Wi-Fi, and like Excel or
energy.
Yeah, energy. And then I have my personal bills, like my car insurance, my phone bill, gas that I actually save up for, and my phone, whatever. So you look at all those bills and just add them all up, and you want to have or try to have that just set to the side. Like you're going to start off having your next month's worth of bills saved up already. So you could already pay out for next month.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's where you're going to start your system with the first paycheck that you get. And you're going to split all that total in two. You're going to split the total amount of your monthly expense that you have for all those bills. You're going to split it in two. And then it'd be more easier if you use a spreadsheet or even just put it down on paper. My rent split in two, for example, would be if I had a bill of like $400 a month for my rent, it'd be $200 then 1 week and then $200 the next week.
Sure.
So that's pretty much how you're splitting up your bills then.
Yep.
And that's for everything. So then every paycheck, then you're always going to be taking like half of your bills. By the second paycheck, you already then have your next month's bills set to go, because that's how you're always going to be a month ahead.
Right.
Then that's the same for your sinking funds. So your sinking funds are things that you just personally want to save up for. So it could be for like a trip, or let's say you have like Christmas, for example, is one that, let's say you set a goal for, you want to have 500 by Christmas time. And so like if you started at the beginning of the year, whatever month you start in, count how many months it is until Christmas, or by the time you want to have enough money for Christmas. And let's say you have 4 months until Christmas and you want to save up like 500, right? So you divide then the 500 by the 4, which is like what?
Like 125.
So 500 divided by the 4 months, which is then 125 per month that you'd have to save up for. So then you divide that by 2, because you're going to be taking out each pay period. So you'd have to be taking out $62
Each pay period.
0.5 per month or per pay period until that specific goal you have. So that's how you do those type of sinking funds that have like a set date you have to have an amount saved up for. But like the ones that you're just saving up for, like a trip, for like clothes. I used to save up for clothes. I would just put like 25 or 10 a month.
Okay.
Or every pay period.
Yeah.
Sure. And then it just keeps building up because you're just doing it like manually. And then next thing you know, you have like $100 to spend on clothes or going out. Or like some girls get their nails done every 2 weeks too. Or, every month they spend this much on their nails. They can easily calculate how much it'd be.
Do you find that your friends all have some sort of budgeting ability, or like do you talk to people about, like, your friends about budgeting and they're like, oh, I just wing it?
Well, from what I see and what I hear, a lot of people tend to just wing it, but that might not be the case. Who knows, they might have a system, but they just they just have it differently. But like, I do have a hard time thinking of like how else do people budget if it's not like how can you budget well if it's not set up like this? Like I sometimes do have a hard time wrapping my head around that because it's like because then you're looking at what other option you're looking at taking out all your bills on one paycheck and then saving up with the next paycheck, you know, or like taking out some from the first paycheck and then taking out the rest from the like just really unbalanced. Because the thing that I like about the system is that everything's even no matter what. You're taking out half and half, which makes it easier at the end because then you don't have to take more from one check than the other or use one whole check for one thing, you know, because then I feel like that's where it comes down to people being like, oh, I don't have enough for rent because I spent my first paycheck on all this stuff and then my second paycheck I turned out didn't work as much, so now I don't have as much money to pay for my rent. But if you would have like saved like half the first and half the second or a fourth every week, then you would have been good to go.
Would you say that is the biggest advantage you've seen is to budgeting in general? Is like you're just way more prepared than a lot of your friends?
Well, I mean, yeah, like I'm always willing to like go on trips and stuff now because I actually have like money saved up for it, and I'm always like, oh, let's go do this, and then like, oh, well, I kind of can't. I need to save up for rent or whatever, and I'm like, oh,
you're like, let me tell you about this system, right?
Like, yeah, I mean, and I don't, and the thing is too that like obviously we're still really young and still learning, and you can tell someone about something, but it just may not be because it is. I'm not gonna lie, it is time. You do have to sit down and look at everything and calculate stuff. And when you do it regularly, it's still like pretty convenient. It's just if the minor things change, like, oh, well, this changed on here, or I don't have to save up for this anymore, then you just change that.
Sure.
This is interesting because it's a little bit of everybody does need to find their own way of how they want to do it. And you,
that's what I was thinking.
So you specifically have a certain way that makes sense to you. And not everybody's going to follow. Not everybody's going to follow that, but some people might be able to pick up some tricks. And then the other question I was going to ask is, how did you get that system? Where did you learn it from? Was it trial and error?
I have been thinking of like, I knew that I've always wanted to be able to manage my finances like well and not have to worry ever, especially when it was coming to moving out and going to college. I knew that I needed to find some sort of system. I'm like, there has to be a way. And I've heard a lot of like, oh, you do like percentages, like percentage of this much percent you put in this account, whatever. But it just never made sense to me like to do that. And then I found this girl on YouTube that does her envelope system.
Yeah.
And I learned from her. And when I saw her do it, I'm like, this makes so much sense. Like to me, it made a lot of sense.
Right. Sure.
And I was like, oh, like this is perfect. Like why aren't more people doing this? Or why was I not taught this at school? You know, and I'm here learning it on YouTube.
I hope you're that person for somebody listening right now. It's like like the light bulb has gone off.
Then that's how I started doing it, and I did it with actual envelopes and cash and stuff. I try to make it as convenient as possible because I know it sounds like a bit of a hassle. So,
James, is it that easy to open those type of like Anna did open those accounts online? How do members do that?
Yeah, there's an option to open more accounts as an existing member within the mobile app and within online banking. So that's available. Otherwise, you can always stop into an office, a Royal Credit Union office, and someone can help you with that way too.
I have thought about doing that for like start saving up for a new vehicle. I feel like I've always talking about
another new vehicle.
Yeah, I mean,
Steve, I'm just kidding.
They just keep coming through. But
well, I mean, what you could do for that too is that people can just start with one thing. Literally, just start with. Let's say you want to save up for, like you said, a car, right? So, by what time do you want to have a car? By like roughly
3 years.
3 years?
Yeah.
Okay. So how much would you be willing to spend in 3 years for that?
She's putting me on the
asking the tough questions.
I think we're probably going to be looking around 35,000.
35?
Yeah.
Okay. So like you would get a loan for like 35.
Well, hopefully. I get what you're saying. Maybe half of that.
Half of that?
Yeah.
Okay. So you'd having to get a down payment of like half of that would be what? 35 divided by 2 was that?
17.
17. So you want 17.5K in cash by 3 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's
divided by 36.
Is it 36 months?
Yep.
36, 17.5 divided by 36.
Oh, we got to get a spreadsheet going here. This is
I like that I'm making
Good deal.
Anna do all my hard work. Maybe she should just run my finances.
17, 36. You're looking at like $486 a month that you'd have to save up. And then if you get paid bi-weekly, you're looking at $243 every paycheck.
That's some real numbers right there. Well, yeah. No, that's a good... That's exactly right.
I mean, that's how easy it is to figure it out, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Literally. Because then if you open like a separate savings account, you can label it car savings. And then so every paycheck, you make sure to deposit $243. Or you can just round it up to $245 and have a little extra every paycheck. And by the time in 3 years, you'll have 17.5 or more in there if you stay consistent. But yeah.
Did you successfully convert anyone? Did you get anyone to be like, I'm doing this too? Like,
I did.
It's simple.
I have done it. They've obviously changed it to their own, what they prefer to do.
Sure.
And everybody will end up doing that at some point. You know, like I like to do my things a specific way and I change little things in there. Like I don't do what the girl showed me in the YouTube video exactly anymore.
Right.
I change it to my own way and that's what something people will always do because it's their finances.
Right.
So
Is it easier having switched from cash and envelopes to electronic accounts? Like, is it
Yeah.
faster or simpler or better?
yeah, it's definitely easier because when I did the cash, obviously I had to round up more, and I don't mind being exact with like cents and whatever. So I'd be like, oh, okay, well I have to round up here, and I don't have to write all those withdrawal slips anymore,
Sure.
and I don't have to be going to the office as much. So yeah, it's definitely more convenient because I can easily just transfer every. But you know, some accounts they don't let you transfer a certain amount of times. Did you know that?
Yes. The savings.
Like that was to me was surprising.
Savings accounts used to have a Reg D limit that was suspended during the pandemic.
Oh.
So you could only make 6 unsigned transactions, like transferring funds
Yeah.
out of them. I believe if like electronic transfer out of that account will count as an unsigned transaction. So, but I believe it's still suspended, right?
I mean, yeah, I transfer a lot, so I haven't had any issues.
But if that ever comes back, you'd be like,
I'd be
okay,
in
like I need
trouble.
to change it to a checking account instead of a savings account.
Yeah.
Or, you know, so you could make it work.
Well,
either way.
actually, a lot of my transfers are to my savings,
Sure.
so,
you're,
maybe that
you're
wouldn't be that big of an issue.
like you're thinking of it as savings and not like a transactional account where you're putting stuff in and taking it out every month. You're just saying
Yeah,
this is
just
a longer term goal
yeah.
type thing. That makes sense.
People always say like, oh, if you manage your money well, or if you know how to manage your money well, like you're really like more in control of your life, which is true. I feel like for a lot of it, and it makes more sense to me now when people say that, because I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and now I'm in more in control of my life because I can actually like take care of my money. But no, it is true because it is a thing where money does control a lot of what goes on in your life. So if you can manage it, then you can manage a lot of what you do.
Wise words from
And that's the promo.
yeah, nailed it.
And whatever you have extra, you put into your savings account. And then
I think the extra part is the interesting part because I don't know if everybody has extra.
and that's something that you can see with the system too. Like, for example, when I was moving out, that was so easy for me because I like copied and pasted my spreadsheet and I created it as if like I was already moved out, and I put in rent and I put in all these little things that I looked up. Oh, how much would it be if, you know, whatever. And I put those numbers in right into it. And I realized that I was like, okay, what I can afford is this much of rent, this much in groceries and all that. And then that's when I went to go look at apartments. That's what I looked at for like monthly, like how much they were. It's like, oh yeah, I can afford this, or no, I can't afford this. Or like when I wanted my new phone, I was like, can I afford to have a monthly payment of this much, you know? And I
Right.
put it in my spreadsheet, and I put in like how much I generally get paid, or for the most part, how much I usually make. And I put it in there, and I could see that, yeah, I can afford it, or I can't afford it. That's what really convenient, because you can like look into the future and see if you can afford it or not.
Who's your favorite Money Donuts host?
I would suggest Cooper. She's not with us today.
Yeah, Cooper is great. I love her.
It's funny. We have a mic set up for Cooper right there, and it's empty.
She's not here.
I think Anna scares her with with all the envelope talk.
I was going to say, what?
Well, thanks for joining us. And thanks for listening. If you like this episode or any Money Donuts episode, feel free to share it with your friends, your family, your neighbor. We definitely want neighbors to listen to this. And we'll see you next time. Or you'll hear us next time.